Kung Fu Panda was never really about Kung Fu. It was about what happens when someone only knows how to love you if you become what they expect you to be. And that's why Tai Lung ended up destroyed, because Shifu did love Tai Lung. That was never the problem. The problem was how he loved him. Tai Lung didn't become a monster when the Dragon Scroll was denied to him. He became one much earlier, when he was taught that his only value would only come from earning it someday. Because Shifu didn't just find a student, he found an abandoned child, someone who had nothing, no family or home or reason to believe he mattered. And Shifu gave him all of that, but he also gave him something far more dangerous, a destiny. From the moment he was little, Tai Lung wasn't treated like someone who could grow up and discover who he was. He was treated like the chosen one, like living proof that Shifu was right, like the warrior who would one day reach greatness and prove that all the training had been worth it. And that sounds beautiful, until you realize Tai Lung wasn't learning how to live. He was learning how to become one single thing, the Dragon Warrior, nothing else. That's why his downfall doesn't begin when Oogway denies him the scroll. That was just the moment everything finally shattered. The crack had already been there long before that, because Tai Lung trained harder than everyone else. He mastered techniques most warriors couldn't even imagine. He became exactly what Shifu wanted him to be, and that's the saddest part. Tai Lung wasn't failing, he was succeeding, he was doing everything right, and his results proved it. Keep going. One day this will prove you're worth something. And then, when that day finally came, they told them no. Not because he wasn't strong enough, or because he hadn't worked hard enough, or because he gave up. Just no. And for a normal person, that would have been a disappointment. But for Tai Lung, it was like having his entire identity ripped away from him. Because if he wasn't the Dragon Warrior, then what was he? And the worst part is that Tai Lung wasn't even the only one. Tigress spent years training in the same place. She became one of the strongest warriors in all of China. And even then, Shifu almost never showed her affection. Not because he hated her, but because to him, making someone strong and making someone happy were not the same thing. And then, Po showed up. And that's when everything broke all over again. Because Po was the complete opposite of Tai Lung. Clumsy, overweight, undisciplined, no natural talent. He literally fell out of the sky by accident, and Shifu saw him as a mistake. He wasn't trying to train him. He was trying to prove he should never have been there in the first place. Just look at the training scenes. Po gets beaten over and over again, and Shifu barely even steps in, because he had already decided the outcome before it even started. And honestly, a lot of us grew up hearing a voice like that, not from a Kung Fu master, but from a parent, a coach, a teacher, someone who said, "I'm hard on you because I know you can do better." And they meant it. That's what makes all of this so strange to process, because a lot of the time the love was real. It just came with pressure, with expectations, with the feeling that you had to earn someone's pride. And little by little, that voice stops coming from the outside, and now it lives inside you. And eventually, you can't even tell how much of it is really you, and how much of it you just learned to repeat. And that's where Oogway comes in, because Oogway saw people completely differently. Shifu looked at someone and thought, what can I turn them into? Oogway looked at someone and tried to understand who they already were. That's why he believed in Po almost immediately, even though honestly, Po was a mess. He didn't even look like someone capable of fighting. He was clumsy, got tired easily, had no discipline, and literally fell out of the sky right into the most important ceremony in the palace. But while everyone else saw a mistake, Oogway saw something else. And the important part is that he doesn't even try to over-explain it. He just says,
"There are no accidents."
And that's it. Because Oogway wasn't trying to control every outcome the way Shifu was. He was just paying attention. In fact, one of the most important scenes in the entire movie happens under the peach tree. Po is already defeated before he even begins. He's thinking about everything that could go wrong. How he's gonna fail, how he's gonna disappoint everyone, how he'll never be enough. And Oogway doesn't even teach him a new technique. He just tells him something absurdly simple.
Yesterday is history. Tomorrow is a mystery, but today is a gift. That is why it is called the present.
And yeah, it sounds like something written on a motivational coffee mug, until you realize Po spent the entire movie living inside a future where he had already lost. And honestly, I think a lot of us do that too. Nothing has even happened yet, and we're already imagining it how we're gonna fail, how we're gonna disappoint someone, how we're not gonna be enough. And meanwhile, we're barely even living the life that's right in front of us. And I think that's why Oogway feels so different from Shifu, because almost all of us have met someone like Shifu, someone who pushes you, who expects things from you, who makes you feel like you constantly have something to prove. But very few people ever meet someone like Oogway, someone who believes in you before you've done anything to earn it. And the strange part is that people like that almost never do anything huge. Sometimes you don't even remember exactly what they said. You just remember how you felt around them. Maybe it was a teacher, a friend, a family member, someone who saw you at your worst, and instead of trying to immediately fix you, they just stayed there. And honestly, I think that's much rarer than people realize. Because a lot of us grew up believing love always came with conditions. Good grades, results, discipline, success. So when someone believes in you without asking for anything in return, it almost feels suspicious. Like there has to be some kind of hidden catch. And I think that's why Po changes so much around Oogway. Because for the first time in his life, there's someone who doesn't look at him like a problem that needs to be fixed. He just looks at him like Po. And I think that's why Shifu ends up feeling like the most human character in the entire franchise. Because Oogway always seemed wise, but Shifu didn't. Shifu made mistakes. He hurt people. He ruined someone he loved, and had to live with it for years. And honestly, I think that's why his growth feels so much more real. Because he doesn't learn the lesson immediately. In fact, even after everything that happened with Tai Lung, he still tries to control Po. He still tries to turn him into the right kind of warrior, until he finally understands something. Po was never supposed to become another Shifu, and that should have never been the goal in the first place. That's why one of the most important lines in the entire franchise doesn't happen until Kung Fu Panda 3. When Shifu finally tells him,
"I'm not trying to turn you into me. I'm trying to turn you into you."
And that line hits so hard, because he finally understood something Oogway had been trying to teach him from the very beginning. You can't force someone to become the version of them you imagined in your head. No matter how much you love them, no matter how afraid you are that they'll fail, no matter how badly you want to help them. Because eventually helping someone and controlling who they are supposed to be stop being the same thing. And I think that's what makes Shifu's arc so good. He wasn't born understanding any of this. He had to break something first. He had to carry guilt, accept that he was wrong, and learn how to let go. And honestly, that feels way more human than someone who always had all the answers. And I think that's why so many people still connect with Kung Fu Panda after all these years. Not because of the fights or the Kung Fu. Not even because of nostalgia. But deep down, all of us have known someone like Shifu. Someone who made us feel like we had to become something in order to deserve love, to deserve pride, to feel like we mattered. And maybe also had someone like Oogway. Someone who believed in us before there were even reasons to. And strangely enough, both of them ended up shaping who we are. Because in the end, Shifu really did change. He didn't become perfect. He didn't erase the damage he caused. But he learned something that was probably harder than any kung fu technique. He learned how to stop controlling who someone else was supposed to become. And honestly, I think a lot of us are still trying to learn that too, with other people or with ourselves. And maybe that was the real lesson of Kung Fu Panda all along. Not becoming the perfect version of someone else, but learning who you are once you stop trying to earn the right to exist.